Okay, Rich Van Tassel here, giving you your game previews for Week 17 of the NFL season, last week of the year. We're going to start first with the New York Jets at 10 and 5. They travel to Buffalo to play the Bills. The Jets will reach the playoffs with a win. Buffalo has been eliminated. The injuries for the visiting Jets: Bilal Powell, the running back, is questionable. Ryan Fitzpatrick, quarterback; Chris Ivory, running back; and Kimbrel Tompkins, wide receiver, are all probable. For the Buffalo Bills, they're all listed as probables: Tyrod Taylor, quarterback; Mario Williams, defensive end; Ronald Darby, cornerback; Marcel Darius, defensive tackle; and Bakari Rambo, the safety. Now, obviously, there's nothing that Rex Ryan would like more than to keep the Jets from making the playoffs. The Jets can lose and still make the playoffs, but they would need Pittsburgh to win. You would have to assume that Pittsburgh is not going to lose. So the Jets really need to win this game to make the playoffs. If Ronald Darby can't go, there was some talk about that early in the week. He's listed as probable. I'm expecting him to go. That could really hurt Buffalo's chances. It should be an interesting matchup because the Jets have Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, who are both having very good years. And the Buffalo Bills have Stephon Gilmore and Ronald Darby, two good cornerbacks. So that should be a good matchup on the outside. And the Jets are going to have to run the ball with Chris Ivory. He needs 11 yards to go over 1,000. Expect him to do so. Bilal Powell at questionable. He's been another solid running back this year. And I believe that's what the Jets are going to have to do, at least early on in this game, to at least draw the safeties in. And that's when Ryan Fitzpatrick will be able to take his chances. Now, the Jets have won 5 straight. Will they keep it going? I'm expecting they will. I think Tyrod Taylor, who quietly had a good season and certainly established himself as the starter going into next year for Buffalo, is going to have a good game. They're going to keep it close. I think Sammy Watkins is going to be shut down by Darrelle Revis, which is where the difference is going to be made in this game. Buffalo's going to make it interesting. The Jets better be on their A game and better be ready for this one. But I believe that the Jets are hungry. They know what's at stake, and they're going to go in there and find a way to win. And I think it's going to be a close game, 23-20 in favor of the New York Jets as they go to the playoffs. All right, up next, the New England Patriots at 12 and 3 travel to Miami to play the Dolphins, who are 5 and 10. Injuries for the Patriots: Brandon LaFell, wide receiver, questionable; Dante Hightower, linebacker, out; Chandler Jones, defensive end, out; Devin McCourty, defensive back, questionable; Rod Ninkovich, defensive end, questionable. For the Dolphins: Jarvis Landry, wide receiver, probable; Ryan Tannehill, quarterback, probable; Kenny Stills, wide receiver, questionable. Jelani Jenkins, linebacker, and Mike Pouncey, center, are both doubtful. New England will clinch, or has already clinched, the first round bye and the home field advantage. I'm almost certain, even if Cincinnati wins and New England loses. Actually, maybe not. Maybe Cincinnati can still get a shot at that. But New England, I expect them to play to win anyway. Want to stay sharp. They're coming off a loss last week to the Jets, so you don't want to go into the playoffs on a 2-game losing streak. Even if New England just comes out and establishes themselves in the first half, builds up enough of a lead where they can rest the starters the rest of the way. Miami's not that good of a team. Terrible year for them. Let's see what changes they make in the offseason. As far as this game, what's going to happen? If the Patriots come out a little sluggish, which I don't expect, then Miami has a shot. Ryan Tannehill can go downfield. Miami's always played them well, especially down in Miami. The warm weather may be a bit of a factor just because you're traveling into it, the humidity and all that for the Patriots, but I don't see it happening. I like the Patriots, like I said, establishing themselves, coming out early, and really taking control of this game. And Ryan Tannehill's going to make a few mistakes early on, and New England's going to win this game. Not really going. They're going to be going away in the first half, but then Miami will cut the lead a little bit. I like it to be 27-20 in favor of the Patriots. Next up, New Orleans at 6 and 9 travels to Atlanta to play the Falcons, who are 8 and 7. Two teams that have disappointed, or certainly going to be disappointed going into the end of this game, or the end of the seasons. Obviously, for different reasons. You have the Saints, who I expect more of, at 6 and 9, and the Atlanta Falcons, who started off 5 and 0, are eliminated from the playoffs as they went 3 and 7 in their last 10. Okay, injuries for the visiting Saints: C.J. Spiller is on injured reserve; Marcus Colston, wide receiver, out; Kendall Hunter, running back, on injury reserve; and Drew Brees, the quarterback, questionable. For the Falcons: Tevin Coleman, running back, out; Devontae Freeman, running back; Roddy Wright, wide receiver; Matt Ryan, quarterback, are all probable to go. You got to expect that Julio Jones, who's had a spectacular season this year, is really going to torch that New Orleans secondary, which hasn't been good. Julio Jones, almost 130 catches, 1,722 yards, 8 touchdowns. They might try to get him 2,000 yards in this game. I know that's a very tall task. That's 278 yards. However, Calvin Johnson did have a 300-yard game a few years ago against a poor Cowboys secondary, so it's certainly not impossible. And you don't have much to play for anyway, so let's see if Atlanta will try to do that. On the other side of the ball, Brandon Cooks is having a very good season. Almost 80 catches, a little over 1,100 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So there's going to be a lot of points in this game. Devontae Freeman, who's been a good rookie this year, look for him to gash up this Saints defense as well. The Saints defense has just been terrible all year, and that's why they're not going to be going to the playoffs for another year. Matt Ryan, his turnovers have gotten way too high. That's what's cost them down the stretch. He is over 4,000 yards, but the 15 interceptions is just not good enough. But in this game, I expect that Atlanta's going to get the win, but I am expecting a few more interceptions from Matt Ryan because I think they're just going to be lighting it up all game long and going to Julio Jones. It's a real shame. These last games of the seasons, you see a lot of teams, really open things up, and you can see how exciting football can really be when teams don't always play conservative. Unfortunately, they're only doing it because there's nothing riding on the games. So I'm going with the Falcons in this one. Obviously, going to be high scoring. I like it 34-31. Next up, Baltimore Ravens at 5-10 travel to Cincinnati to play the Bengals, who are 11-4. We discussed. I believe Cincinnati can't get the 1 seed. They certainly have to still win to guarantee themselves that they're going to be the 2 seed as well, though, and possibly get the 1 seed. They are 11-4. Baltimore's 5-10. Injuries for the Ravens first. Marlon Brown, the wide receiver, is on injury reserve. Andy Dalton, quarterback, out. This is for the Bengals now. Tyler Eifert, tight end. Marvin Jones, wide receiver, and AJ McCarron are all probable. AJ McCarron is the quarterback. So still no Andy Dalton. For the Baltimore Ravens, they're going to look to finish out the season. Hasn't been a good year for them. They've really been professional down the stretch. Got to give them credit there. Um, I don't think a lot of these guys on the roster are likely going to be there next year for the Ravens. You got Kamir Aiken, he's probably going to be around. Jimmy Clausen auditioning possibly as the backup for Baltimore, but really for any team across the league. There's just been a lot of injuries this year. Justin Forsett has not played well. He's going to be 30 next year. Is he going to be still playing for the Baltimore Ravens? Are they going to want him? So there's a lot of question marks in that regard. So Baltimore really is just playing for themselves at this point. As far as Cincinnati, I like the A.J. Green against Jimmy Smith matchup. I expect A.J. Green to get the better of Jimmy Smith, but Jimmy Smith will certainly make plays in this game. What is A.J. McCarron going to do? I would look for Cincinnati to really try to insert some plays and open up the playbook for him because you don't know who you're going to need going into the playoffs. Certainly, Cincinnati wants that bye so they can give Andy Dalton another week. Will he be available to go? If that's the case, you'll have to see, but you certainly want him to play every playoff game if you can. So, with that being said, I think Baltimore may shock Cincinnati this game. They're really gonna come out and give Cincinnati fits, but I'm gonna take the Bengals in a close one. I like this one to be 28-27, but again, it will not surprise me if Baltimore wins this game. All right. Up next, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 9-6. They travel to Cleveland to play the Browns, who are 3-12. Injuries for the Steelers: Martavis Bryant, wide receiver, questionable. Ben Roethlisberger, quarterback, probable. For the Browns, Johnny Manziel, the quarterback, is out. Travis Benjamin, wide receiver, questionable. Carlos Dansby, linebacker, questionable. Marlon Moore, wide receiver, is out. Pittsburgh needs a win and the Jets lost to make the playoffs. They coughed up that game last week against the Baltimore Ravens. For Cleveland, another terrible year. It looked like they were making some improvement last year, but then you had all these issues this year. A couple players were arrested, so there's just problems all around. Johnny Manziel is not playing, so that means Josh McCown's going to get the start. Manziel, where is he going to go from here? He has not shown much these past couple weeks when he's been given the opportunity. I still think Johnny Manziel can play. I don't think Cleveland was the right fit for him. However, he has not done himself any favors by playing well enough to show that he deserves another shot in the league. He'll get it, but he certainly hasn't showed that he can do it. For Pittsburgh, they're going to attack this Cleveland secondary. Joe Hayden has not had his best year. You do have Antonio Brown, who's having a very good season. We discussed Julio Jones earlier. Antonio Brown is right there with them. Two guys who have played spectacular this year. Martavius Bryant is questionable to go. When he's on the field, he's a big physical player who's very difficult to cover, and as well as Marcus Wheaton is very similar to Martavius Bryant, especially in body type. No reason to see why Pittsburgh isn't going to crush Cleveland in this game. They're certainly disappointed that they took destiny out of their own hands last week against Baltimore. They'll probably crush Cleveland, as we just said, but it's not going to be enough to make the playoffs, as I predicted the Jets to win. I like this game to be 30-10. Cleveland got to figure things out from here. Who knows where they're going to go. All right, up next, the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5-10 travel to Houston to play the Texans, who are 8-7. Injuries for the Jaguars, again, no injured players listed. They've been very healthy this year. It's good for them. For the Texans, Brian Hoyer, the quarterback, is probable. Jadeveon Clowney, linebacker, is out. J.J. Watt, defensive end, is probable. Now, Houston at 8-7, they will clinch the division with a win. They could even lose, and they're still almost certainly going to clinch the division. There are a lot of things that have to go right for Indianapolis to catch them, even if they have the same record. Indianapolis needs like 7 or 8 other teams to lose for the strength of schedule tiebreaker anyway. So Houston's almost certainly going to win this division, but you don't want to even put matters into doubt with a loss here. Jacksonville did get themselves the 4-6, and it looked like they were cruising, or not cruising, but at least certainly showing the improvement. They were in contention for the division title. Certainly, even if you didn't get it, you would have liked to see them finish a little bit better. There was some bad games in there. Can they get to 6-10? That's where I had them early in the year. Certainly, they've shown some improvement. Blake Bortles has had a very good year, over 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, a little high. Allen Robinson's had a very good year as well, 14 touchdowns. T.J. Yeldon, the rookie, hasn't been great, but certainly showing improvement. So Jacksonville can really, I don't want to say springboard, but give themselves certainly some momentum going into the next season if they were to get this win here. But I don't think they're going to do it. Houston, I don't, like we said before, does not want to mess things up, does not want to put any doubt into their playoff situation. And they'd like to finish above 500. Houston gets the win in a fairly close game, but going away late. I like it 28-17 in favor of the Houston Texans. All right, we're going to take a little break here, be back in a little bit, and give you part 2 of the game picks for Week 17 of the NFL season. Thank you.